So what exactly was this incident at the U.S.-Canada border? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the vehicle explosion at the U.S.-Canada border near the Rainbow Bridge, which takes you from Niagara Falls, U.S. to Niagara Falls, Canada. Now, if you've been watching the news or reading the internets and you saw some of the initial reporting, they called this a terror attack. And not only that, they were talking about this is a result of the border being wide open and migrants coming in and Hamas and all kind of stuff, because they said there was in the vehicle explosives, a ton of explosives, and they were trying to ram the bridge, maybe even blow the bridge up. This was the initial reporting, but now they're kind of backtracking, talking about, well, maybe it wasn't a terror attack. Maybe it was just a crash. They were just driving reckless. There was no bombs in the car, no bombs anywhere else, no explosives. It was just the car was driving fast. It went up high in the air and then it came down. And you know, sometimes when the car crashes, it explodes. Now, there's some context here. I got to be fair. There is some context. And some of the context is a teeny bit fishy, just a little bit fishy, if you ask me. Now, before we get to the video of the damage and whatnot, let's look at some of the context, shall we? Now, this article on CBS was published on November 20th, which is Monday. Today is November 22nd, Wednesday. So just a little over 48 hours ago, this article was put up, and you see the headline, escalating violence in Gaza, okay, in Gaza specifically, increasing chatter of possible terror attack in New York. Intelligence report says, not New York City, but New York State. And of course, Niagara Falls, that's in upstate New York. So this article comes out, and then 2 days later, there is a car that blows up right at the border, right near the bridge. So people just put two and two together and say, oh, it must be a terror attack. But I'm not quite sure that's the case. Now, there were two people that died, and they were the ones in the vehicle. And I have no idea where they're from. I'm sure by the time you see this, there'll be quite a bit of retraction of the initial claims of a terror attack. And maybe they'll have more information about who was in the vehicle, whose name the vehicle was in. I'm sure they'll be able to find that. But as of right now, this is what we know, and this is the context. So let me see. I'm going to just read some of this right here. Then we keep on moving. So CBS News learned, not the Federale is telling you, but CBS News somehow figured out on Monday of increased threats of a possible terror attack in New York City as a direct result of the escalating violence in the Middle East. Now, let's read some more, because I told you at the beginning, it wasn't just New York City, it was the entire state. Governor Kathy Hochul is already taking action to beef up security and increase staffing of the Joint Terrorism Task Force following a new threat assessment by the New York State Intelligence Center that violence in Gaza is driving chatter about targets in New York, not just New York City. See, look right here. The governor spoke about new steps should be taken to deal with online threats and radicalization, even as CBS News obtained a new threat assessment, which points to an increasing terror threat to NYS, New York State. All right. So obviously you put two and two together, you get four, but maybe we got some false information. Just maybe, I'm saying. Now let's keep on going here. This is more about what happened. This is on Sky News. You see what's going on. Rainbow Bridge, 2 die in explosion in Niagara Falls after car crashes at very high speed. Now, to go back a little bit to some of the initial reporting, first they were trying to say that the vehicle was on the Canada side and was trying to come to the U.S. Some said the vehicle was on the bridge. But what happened was the vehicle never got into Canada. It never got on the bridge. It was near a 7-Eleven. There could have been some pursuit or something like that. But ultimately, the vehicle just sped up and crashed and burned and exploded. And here's some of the debris. Now, I could understand why somebody may think there's a bomb there, but to say that it was a bomb without having the evidence, I think is pretty irresponsible. It's pretty irresponsible because now you're trying to say that it was a terror attack and you're driving fears up. Oh, and by the way, since this whole thing happened, the traffic right there is shut off. And that's pretty rough right now because you're dealing with the holidays, Thanksgiving weekend, and all that coming up. This is going to be a very big day for travel. So you got an explosion that probably wasn't an attack. There was probably no explosives or bombs, but yet we're shutting down traffic. And it happened just 2 days after that report was published. It just seems fishy to me. I don't really know what's going on. And of course, we're going to have more details as time progresses. But if you ask me, from my opinion, this seems fishy. Very, very fishy. Now, let's keep on going here. Here's when the vehicle exploded. You're going to see that on the right-hand side of your screen, in the upper right-hand side of your screen. Let's check it out here. No sound, of course. And then, boom, there we have it. That was the extent of the explosion. All right. And then, of course, there's a fire afterward. And I think this was near a Canadian Border Patrol facility or office. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I had heard on the news. Now, let's watch this here. I'm not quite sure what this video is. It might just be like the aftermath. You see like a bunch of smoke and whatnot. Now, that ain't the vehicle right there stopped. The vehicle that exploded is obliterated, obviously. It's probably just a bunch of debris on the ground. All right, now let's keep on going here. Here is a view of the actual the border crossing. So the way the bridge works is it's a bunch of checkpoints before you get onto the bridge to take you across into Niagara Falls, Canada. And the same thing, vice versa. Coming from Niagara Falls, Canada into Niagara Falls, US, it's a bunch of checkpoints, and then it merges onto the bridge. You come across, and then that's pretty much what it is. All right. So that's what's happening right there. Again, there was an explosion near the Rainbow Bridge on the US side in Niagara Falls, US, in New York State, upstate New York. 2 people deceased, the ones in the vehicle. I think there was a Border Patrol officer injured, but I don't believe anybody else is deceased. Just the 2 in the vehicle. As of right now, we don't know who they are, where they came from. Some more irresponsible news. They were talking about there was some chatter near the vehicle. People arguing, talking about, I'm from Turkey. I heard a report about some passports that were found. I think that's false. All that we know right now is that the vehicle blew up, and eyewitnesses said the vehicle was going very fast. It probably was a car that was speeding out of control, might have been drunk on drugs, something like that. They crashed and burned. That's most likely what happened. Was it an electric vehicle? Was it a combustible engine? Like, what happened? I think we'll get a lot more of that known pretty soon. But there was no explosives in the vehicle, according to what they're saying right on the ground. Could that change? Perhaps. Perhaps. But to call it a terror attack so early without really knowing what's going on, I think it's pretty irresponsible. Now, if they do an investigation, maybe they will be able to determine that it could be. But from what I'm seeing right now, I don't think that's what that is. I think it was just a crash. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here? Do you think it's a terror attack? Do you think it's just a high-speed crash? Some said it could have even been a chase, and then the chase wound up having the people crash at the end. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I don't think it was a terror attack. I think that it's pretty fishy. Maybe somebody was trying to be a copycat. I don't know what's going on as far as a reason why the crash happened, but I don't think it's what was being reported at the very beginning. And that was pretty irresponsible. They're talking about Gaza and Israel. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Before you start saying stuff like that, you got to be careful, because you got to understand one thing about the news is that when you put stuff out there like that, people remember it. And they may not remember or ever see the retraction. It's the same thing with C-19 and the mandates. When they come out and say, oops, sorry, that didn't work. Oops, sorry, we didn't mean to put you through all that nonsense, through all the... When they say things like that, after not being that way, nobody really sees what they say after. All they see is what they said from the very beginning. So please be careful. Could it be a terror attack? Perhaps. But I don't think that it was, based upon what I see in front of me right now. And we're going to find out more information as time progresses. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.